4th, 2021 virtual regular meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for North Augusta. Let's have a roll call.
Kevin Skaggs.
Jim Newman.
Bill Burkhalter.
Kathy Stallworth. All right, do we have a motion for approval of the minutes? Libby did a wonderful job, and Cully of sending all this out. Is there any thing that you need to talk about in the minutes?
I got a question about them.
Okay.
On the condition 3 regarding the traffic study, it mentions a final presentation to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be required. Is that something that the public is invited to hear, considering we had all the comments and 170 something people interested in it from the neighborhood?
So the chair issued an interpretation earlier this week on that item, and it will be an informational item only. And it will come back to the board, and I'll give a presentation just like I would anytime I give you guys any kind of other information.
Hey, Madam Chair, this is Bill Burkhalter. I will be abstaining from voting on the minutes since I wasn't a part of the board at that point in time.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else about the minutes that we need to discuss? Kevin, was your question answered?
So do they get this? Do the public get this? When do they get to see the result of the traffic study is what I'm getting at.
So we won't have a copy of the traffic study until it's turned into us. We don't have any construction plans right now, so there's no reason for them to turn it into us. It's not associated with anything.
All right.
But will they get to see it when it is turned in?
Well, yes, that's the condition.
Okay. The public will get to see it.
Right.
Is that what you're asking, Kevin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll bring it back as an informational item to the Board of Zoning Appeals, but we'll have it, any citizen can request what they want through the Freedom of Information Act at any time. But we currently don't have those plans, so I don't have anything to show anybody right now.
Sure.
All right.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion for approval of the minutes if there's no other discussion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we'll note that Bill Burkhalter is abstaining since he was not present. All right. Have you all received a copy of the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. We're all okay with that then. So
Yeah.
a motion to approve the agenda as presented to us.
Yes, ma'am. Second.
All right. All in favor of a confirmation of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Tonight, the first thing we're going to discuss is ZV 20-009 Walnut Grove, Section 13. A request by Metro Home Sites, LLC, for lot widths and side setbacks less than the minimum permitted in the PD Plan Development Zoning District by the R3 zoning definition defined in the 1976 ZDSO plan. The request affects a proposed single-family residential development on plus or minus 70.6 acres located at the end of Millstone Lane, tax parcel number 127-00-01-001. All right, we'll now open the meeting to public comment if there is any. Does anybody wish to speak to this? Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I believe we have Mr. Curtis Wright here to speak on his own behalf.
Hey, Libby.
Mr. Wright, I need to swear you in. Would you please state your name? State your name. Are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Hello?
can.
Okay, sorry
Thank you.
about that. Curtis McNeely Wright.
And please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, thank you. Now, what comments do you have, or what do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to say?
First, I'd like to say that thank you for letting me come in on this meeting tonight. My internet connection was a little bit slow. My kids are doing some schoolwork. So, but my concerns with this are that I was told, first of all, by my real estate agent when I purchased my home in 2007, that no one would be
Excuse
able
me,
to.
Mr. Wright, could you give us your address, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, ma'am. 334 Mill Branch Way, North Augusta, South Carolina, 29860.
Okay.
And so I was told by my real estate agent, Miss Joanne Mackey, in 2007 that no one would be building behind my home due to an easement. But since then, neighbors on both my right and my left have informed me that their real estate agent told them the exact same thing, and one of them was purchased their home about 2 years ago or so. And so that's one of my concerns. My second would be how close will a home or a road be to my property line? My personal plat of my home that I've looked at recently runs the Edgefield County line right about 10 yards behind my back door, right in my middle of my patio. And so I'm not sure how, I don't believe the line goes to the power line that I'm aware of on my plat, my personal plat. The next thing is this is going to affect my home property value a good bit. I have some other real estate friends, and they, if you look on Millstone, homes that are just like mine that are backed up to another subdivision or another homes on the back side are significantly lower property value than mine. And so I would like to know how I'd be compensated for that and my neighbors. Another thing is after looking through the plans for this land, the common theme I see shows that this land is really tough topographically to actually lay out like y'all propose. And even to the point where you changed your plans and you didn't really want cul-de-sacs, but now it looks like you're going to have cul-de-sacs due to that tough the topographical map. And so I'm concerned about the watershed and the wastewater flow. My backyard floods pretty good after a large rain, and I have a large drain underneath my middle of my backyard. So I'm worried that that's going to affect my children's safety when they're playing in the backyard. I think that a biologist or an environmentalist needs to assess this land before you move forward. Another thing that my neighbors and I are interested in is what type homes are going to be behind me. I know it's going to be single-family homes, but are they going to be one story or two? Due to the elevation behind my home, if you build a home back there, they're going to be looking directly into my backyard, right into my backyard windows, and my neighbors as well. And that's just not safe. We don't feel safe with that, and we shouldn't be pushed out of our home for that. And so, I don't think any of you want somebody looking into your backyard, or do you have to keep your kids, inside, and because there's a lot of predators out there, as we know. And we don't know who's building, who's going to be moving into our homes. And I know that's to the left and the right of us as well. But we also, if you plan on grading that land down to the level of my yard, then it's still going to significant water issues. I believe. I really do. I think y'all need to take a walk out here and look. I'll invite you to my home, and you can walk back there and take a look for yourself. My neighbors and I have been talking, and we would request really 5 yards of woods be left behind our house, like that's the woods that are existing. If you would leave 5 yards of those trees on the other side of the power line, we'll be very happy with that. Or plant trees, not evergreens. We want trees like the ones that exist to be guaranteed for 5 years behind our homes, so that we won't have to look, and they won't have to look into my backyard. Another thing is we cannot help to notice that all the subdivisions that are going up in the city and the county, and that are not finished or not filled up. There's one right there by the NHC, and so I know there's supposed to be expected growth, that's coming, but clear cutting these lands, making cookie cutter homes and townhomes, Are you really sure you really want that much growth? In this week's Edgefield Advertiser, Representative Bill Hickson states this himself, that he wants deer in his yard and horses to roam in his pasture. He even says he does not want to live in Columbia County. So I do know this boils down to money and generation of property taxes for the city and county. I do understand that. But however, in the same newspaper, Edgefield Advertiser today, that Representative Hickson had a discussion with the then Edgefield County Administrator a few years back, and he stated that the county was actually losing money on these type subdivisions for the needs for schools and the cost of other services that must be provided to its residents. Maybe we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure to back these homes before we build these new homes. And lastly, I just want to end with this. Last month, my family and I were eating lunch on our back patio about 12:30. My wife and daughter heard a turkey gobble back behind my house. I'd never heard this before, and at first I didn't believe them. And then my son and I heard it. And I went inside, I grabbed my turkey box call, and I went out there and I called that turkey. It answered me 2 times. How amazing is that, to have a turkey to come that close to your house, a wild turkey? You know, how amazing is that? So close to the North Augusta city limits. You know, I wish that we could leave that 70-plus acres back there with that great pond and use it as a green space for our community. So many more options than developing putting these homes back there. But I do appreciate your time, and I hope you consider this. I'll be glad to email you any of these, or if you want to reach out to me, I'd appreciate it. They have my email address, and I can give it to you if you need it, or my phone number. So, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. We appreciate your input and your joining us tonight. Libby, I think that I should have asked you to speak first to this, and now that I didn't, perhaps you could enlighten us on some of Mr. Wright's questions and concerns.
I believe we have a representative for the developer actually here. Right. I see Philip Green on the call as well, or on the meeting as well. He's the engineer of record. I'm not sure if there's any other. My list is so long, I've lost the bottom half of who may be here representing the project. But just so everyone's aware, this has been through the development review process. We are basically at the end of that development review process. This will be one of the final steps before they are given development approval. And that is per the development code. You know, everything is up to our current standard.
Libby, question for you. Would have been built regardless? You know, something could have been put back there at any time, regardless of these people, Metro Homes, doing it, as long as they met the 55-foot and 6-foot.
That's correct.
So if they would have followed the rules, they wouldn't have to come to us.
That's correct.
Okay, so they could have built it at anything, regardless.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from the Development Corporation that would like to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Phil Green with Southern Partners. I'm alongside with me is Mark Gillum with Metro Home Sites.
I didn't catch your name.
Philip Green.
All right, Philip, we can't see you. I can't see you anyway. But would you please state your name and address and then raise your right hand?
Philip Green, 1233 Augusta Parkway, and I have my right hand raised.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. And you're from the developer, representing the developer. You are the developer?
I am the engineer representing the developer.
The engineer. Okay. All right. Tell us about your plans.
I appreciate the opportunity to present the appeal to the board tonight. As Ms. Hodges stated, this property is the last part of the development known as Walnut Grove, Butler's Mill, and Andrews Branch within the PD that was passed years ago. And my client's company has developed, I think, all of Walnut Grove and Butler's Mill, Andrews Branch area, and they are continuing this last section on this piece of property. In the original PD plan, this area was identified as a PDR area, which with the requirement that the average density not exceed 4 units per acre. With this layout and this development that we're proposing, we're coming in at about 2 units per acre. We are keeping about 50% of the property as open space, green space, the pond to use as an amenity, with some walking trails that will actually connect back to the Walnut Grove subdivision and extend those walking trails onto on the 5 Knot Road. The reason we're here tonight is that planning department had determined that the R3 development standard that was referenced in, I think, the 1976 North Augusta ZDSO allowed for 55-foot wide lots with 6-foot side setbacks. What we're proposing is a 53-foot wide lot with 5-foot side setbacks, of which there are, in the North Augusta's current zoning ordinance, there are actually a couple R7 and R10 zoning districts that would allow that. But as we stated in the appeal, I just briefly go through the 5 points. We believe that this the condition of the lot creates an unnecessary hardship, and that the development is being held to an outdated code that's no longer applicable in the city. This is the last piece of the PD plan. It is encumbered by extraordinary and exceptional conditions, including significant slopes, environmentally sensitive areas, and drainage features that we have to deal with. In order to preserve and protect those areas, my client is proposing to leave, as I said before, about 50% of the property untouched. And the adjacent sections of Walnut Grove actually lie within the same portion of the PD and could have been developed under the same requirements. However, in order to minimize the impact of the environment and again, dealing with the topography that's there, and to meet the current housing market and the footprints of the homes that my client intends to put back there, it's better suited to a 53-foot instead of 55-foot with the 5-foot setbacks instead of the 6. We believe that the holding us to the R3 standards could unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Again, there are 2 current zoning districts within the city that if this PD was to be done today, we would probably reference either the R7 or R10, which would both allow 53-foot home on with 5-foot setbacks. And we don't believe the development will be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property. This being the final section of the development is at the back of the subdivision. And again, proposed to be developed with just a 2-foot difference in the lot width and a 1-foot difference on the side setbacks. That outside of what the PD requires on this in this area. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, sir. I have a couple for you. First is, was this a part of the original development when they first did Walnut Grove? Was this already originally shown?
This area was part of the original PD, which actually I think predates my client getting involved with the of it.
Okay.
Throughout the years, he has been developing the residential portion of this PD, and this is the last piece, like I said, in the back of the property.
Okay. So phase 1 and phase 2, so will they be houses in keeping with the houses previously in Walnut Grove?
By and large, I can. I do have the developer here. If you'd like to ask him some questions too. He's sworn in.
He'll need to be sworn in, yes, and we can get his spiel. I was just trying to see if those are going to be houses, and then phase 3 is just the townhomes.
That's correct. Phase 1 and phase 2 are single family, and the phase 3 is the townhomes.
Okay, that answers my questions.
Or would the developer like to speak? Would the developer like to speak?
I got a question.
And now who are you addressing your question to, Kevin?
Uh,
The engineer?
yes. So I'm curious. So I guess you laid it out in accordance with what the 55 foot and 2 foot. Let's see. In accordance with what the requirements are, and I'm curious as to what it looked like and what drove you to needing the change.
I'm
Well,
curious about that too.
Going back to the original PD map that I had, indicated that this area was in the PDR, which again was by the designations that are on the map that I have. The only requirement was an average overall density of 4 units per acre, and so that was what we were meeting. Again, the R3 that's on that map, we're not within that R3 zone. So I was not thinking that the R3 would apply to us. I was under the impression per that map that we would only be required to meet the density requirement. So we laid it out with the 53 foot lots and the 5 foot setbacks to meet my client's needs.
So you didn't think the 1976 ZDSO designation applied to you? Was that right?
Well, looking at the map that's on the screen right now, we are not within the area that number 2 area that says R3. We're not within that area. We're down in the number 1 area, which just says PDR. And it wasn't until Ms. Hodges brought it to our attention that the R3 rules applied, I guess, to this number 1 area, that we had to come before the
So are
Yeah,
you disputing the interpretation by Libby? Is that what you're doing? Disagreeing with that?
I mean, no, I mean, that's why we're here. We're not trying to dispute that. We're just here to get the variance to build the 53 foot wide lots. But you asked the question of why did we not plan it out originally to the R3 designation, and that's why.
Okay, so if you recognize that if it did apply and you did lay it out to the requirements, would it just be less houses?
There would be less houses, and or we would get much closer to the environmentally sensitive areas. There's some streams running through there and some drainage features. We generally try to, of course, North Augusta has buffers that are required off of those features anyway, and we try to maintain those and go beyond those if we can.
How many less houses would it be?
If I had to guess, I'd probably say about between 6 and 8.
Libby, go ahead, Kevin.
I was struggling trying to see where the problem would be if you met the requirement as it stated. I'm having a hard time seeing where the hardship is, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess from our standpoint is with the R3 being from the old ZDSO, I feel like we're being held to a standard that no longer exists in the city code. And if this were to be done today, we would have fallen under either the R7 or R10 designations, which would have allowed for a minimum 50 foot wide lot with 5 foot setbacks. So I guess the hardship is the application of the old ordinance to this piece of property.
So, Libby, question to you: why wasn't this put into the new code for R7 and R10, or why was this still back to 76?
It's our interpretation that as a legislative action by the city council when they adopted this PDR, that it was adopted using those rules. and that we would need to apply the rules set by the legislative action.
Okay, so if this was to come up now and decide to be that, it would be a 7 or a 10 or something of
Well,
that nature.
as a PD, actually, this wouldn't qualify for a PD anymore as only residential. So those standards have just completely changed, and that's partially due to state law as well.
Okay.
So, they could have requested a rezoning. There are several other options, and staff did mention this when they came through with the concept plan review with the planning commission early last year.
Well, Libby, I have a question. This falls under the 1976 development standards now. And then when this property was purchased or was annexed in 86, am I correct?
Right, that was the code in force at the time.
The 76, even though it was 86, it was still.
It was still in force.
Okay. How often do you rewrite those codes?
As often as city council tells us to.
Okay. I thought it had to be done every 10 years.
No, that would be our comprehensive plan, has to be.
Comprehensive plan. Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Green, do you have anything else to say, or does the developer have anything else to say? Or does he want to speak?
Walnut Grove, section 13.
I can't hear you. I can't understand you. Maybe I'm the only one.
I would like this. Let me step to another room here.
Libby, as he's stepping to the other room, is this just for phase 1 and 2, or does this have anything to do with phase 3, the townhomes?
So in phase 3, townhomes are allowed under that code. So we didn't under a separate provision, and that's in your packet as well. But from technically the order would apply to the entire tract unless a condition is placed that it's only applies to these phases, because it's all still one big parcel right now.
Okay.
But what they're asking for only really applies to the single family portion, phases 1 and 2.
Okay. Am I just missing phase 1 on my screen? Oh, I see. It's way at the bottom in yellow.
I'm sorry.
Is that
No,
it?
this is, let me go back here. Can you see there's a darker gray portion and then kind of a striped portion? Can you see where my pointer is?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is phase 1, the darker gray, and phase 2 is kind of the striped portion.
Okay.
On the ends.
All right. All right.
And then just for reference, not to confuse anybody, but phase 3 are the townhomes over on this side.
So
I have a question. So in the phase 1 and 2, which phases 1 and phases 2, which is the 94 lots, I guess, in question, these are actually single family homes with 5-foot spaces in between. Is that correct?
That's what they're asking for, yes.
It'd be 10 foot in between because each lot would have a 5-foot setback.
Total, yes.
what'd you say? I couldn't understand you.
Well,
It would
total.
be 10 foot in between. Each lot would have a 5-foot setback.
Each lot would have a 5-foot setback, right? So that'd be 10 feet.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Green, are you in another room yet?
Mark Gillum, I'm in another room. I think you should be able to hear me now.
I understand you much better now. Now, is your developer there with you?
I'm
That is.
the developer.
All right. Now, so, please state your name and your address.
Mark Gillum, 3839 Honors Way, Martinez, Georgia.
All right, please raise your right hand.
All right.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, would you like to care to comment on what's going on?
I just want to comment on the homes that are going to be built there. And, you know, those homes are going to probably start from around $250,000 and go up, which is more, I think, than the homes they're going to be backing up to. And they'll generally be bigger on average. They probably average 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. So I don't think that, I know there was a concern of values, but I think that the values are going to actually improve the values of the area. And we're tying into the Walnut Grove walking trail. And so folks will be able to have more path to walk upon too. So I think it'll be good for the whole area. And as you can see by the plan, most of this area, or at least half of it's going to be preserved, and it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful lake, and the woods around it are very, very nice too. And I can see people with families really enjoying being able to use that.
Let me get one thing clear. You will not be connecting physically for vehicular traffic with Millstone Lane. Is that correct?
With Millstone
Lane.
Well,
That is our connection.
it's going to be connected. The stub road is going to be connected.
So phases 1 and 2 will be connected to Millstone. Phase 3 will not.
Oh, okay. Well, I've misunderstood that then.
Okay.
So phase 1 and 2 will be connected to Millstone. All right. Libby, I need to ask this question. That's going to be a lot of houses. What about, that's going to be a lot of traffic on Millstone. Have we just considered a traffic study there?
So they did not meet the thresholds to require a traffic study at this time.
All right, they will not then have egress or ingress from 5 Notch Road. Is that correct or not? Am I wrong?
That's correct. They will not have egress on the 5 Notch.
So it's only the townhomes that will.
That's correct.
All right. All right, does anybody else have any questions of the developer or the engineer?
Yeah, I'm going to ask the question again. So while you got that drawing up there, if you took phase 1 and phase 2 footprint that's shown there and adjusted your lot widths to meet the requirement, you could do that and would just end up with a few less houses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, did you have something? Are you talking?
Yes, I need to unmute myself. Libby, is there supposed to be a buffer between the two, phase 1, phase 2, and the existing houses on Mill Branch, or are they planning on having one?
It does not appear that they plan to have one, and one would not have been required.
Yeah.
So we're looking at backyards backing up to backyards. Is that?
Generally, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the houses across the street already in the subdivision, it looks like.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. Does anybody else have any questions of Libby or of the developer or the engineer?
I do. There was mention somewhere in the write-ups about this extra or the lesser sideback restrictions somehow enhancing or affecting environmental issues. I don't understand that. I guess that's my question is how does what you're requesting in the appeal change anything environmentally?
I guess that goes back to the other question about the development and the number of lots. For instance, on the cul-de-sac coming straight in from Millstone, we stop probably 50 or 60 feet short of the drainage feature stream that runs back across that property. If we were to go to the 55-foot wide lots with the 6-foot setbacks, that would push us about another 30 feet towards that and really hit the minimum buffers that North Augusta requires on environmentally sensitive areas. So yes, it could be done. It would just be pushing us closer to the environmentally sensitive areas. And that's part of what we were trying to prevent is to maintain as much of that, as Mark pointed out, about 50% of that property is just natural area that was untouched.
That's if you kept the number of lots at 94. Is that correct? You would extend
Yes,
down.
I think I believe going towards the cul-de-sac, going towards the townhomes, the way that drainage draw comes there, I don't believe we could. That longer road would require us to shift it probably another 50 or 60 feet, and I don't believe we could do that without getting into that environmentally sensitive area. So we would definitely lose lots.
All right, anybody else have anything else to say, to ask these people or ask Libby?
I want to add one thing about the homes. The homes are not going to be right on the property, right on the minimum building line either. There's going to be more room than 10 feet between homes. Probably going to be 15 feet between homes, maybe a little more, depending on what plan is built.
And why would you need the extra foot on the sides?
Just so we don't have to have Philip Green out there laying block for us.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we like a little bit of leeway because we're not perfect when we're laying houses out.
Okay.
This is Curtis Wright again, if I can speak one more time to that. If those homes are going to be that big, then they're definitely going to be multi-storied homes, I would think. And so those homes are going to look right into my backyard. I encourage you and to put some kind of block or blind or trees, something between the existing homes on Mill Branch Way and the new homes that you're building on whatever said street that is, Mills, that you're going to name it. But, I would love, and I would love for the developer and the engineer to come out to my home and come to my, I think it's going to rain here shortly, to come out to my home and look at my backyard, please. And tell me how you're going to prevent water from those homes to be coming into my house. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we have looked at the stormwater management for this site, and the stormwater from those lots will be directed back towards the new road that we're building, and then taken away from the existing lots in the back there on Mill Branch.
So you are saying that in all probability, Mr. Wright and the different various neighbors of his will not be having stormwater in their backyard from your development.
There may be some pie slopes in the back, but any roof water or driveway water from these lots is going to be directed within our subdivision, and that will not run off onto the adjacent property.
I don't believe it. You just got to come see it. You hadn't seen it. You need to come see it, sir.
So just a point of order, comments are made at the chair's discretion.
Right. Okay. I think, does anybody else have anything to say? All right. I think if not, we're going to close the public hearing and we'll start the meeting. The discussion about these things. And so everybody understands, we have to meet 10 requirements in order to issue a waiver. And I'm going to read these requirements in case some of the folks listening in don't know what they are. If we can't meet everyone in the affirmative, we cannot pass the waiver or grant the waiver. All right, number one, an unnecessary hardship exists. Number two, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Number three, the conditions do not generally apply to other property in the area. Because of these conditions, number four, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unnecessarily restrict the utilization of the property. And number five, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. Number six, and it's about signs, but this does not apply in this particular situation. Number seven, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. Or C, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. Number eight, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance shall not be granted. Number nine, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. Number 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, the safety, and general welfare. Based on these findings, excuse me, the Board of Zoning Appeals may approve with conditions, or deny the request. All right. Now, do you all want to just go through the board? Do you just want to go through each one of these conditions, or do you want to have some discussion first? Are you there?
Yeah, let's just start and go through them, and we'll discuss each topic.
All right. An unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that the R3 zoning district is an old zoning category, et cetera, et cetera. The requirements create an unnecessary hardship because they are forced to design to a standard which is no longer widely used. The burden does not apply to other developments in North Augusta. However, we do know that this particular piece of property was granted this, came into the development under the old code. So what do you all think about that?
Sounds like it's a necessary hardship. That's the requirement.
Jim, do you have anything to say?
I'm listening to y'all, see what y'all, Kevin and Bill has to say, and then I'll interrelate.
All right, Bill.
Okay.
Bill?
Nothing except that I'm not convinced there's an unnecessary hardship in this situation. That's more of a statement than a question. That's just a contribution.
That was the requirement that was assigned to the property, and they just don't like it.
They don't like it. Is that what you said, Kevin?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me, yes.
Well, Jim?
So, I'm kind of heading that way as well. So if they build it to the current standards, which is 55 foot and 6 foot. Like I said, they only gonna lose, they stated they only gonna lose about 4 or 5 lots. He quoted 6 to 8 maybe. But I kind of counted up, and it's gonna probably be closer to 4 to 6, in my opinion. And then the developer stated that the side setbacks, most of the houses are small, but if they get off a little bit, it's hard to believe 5 foot, 6 foot's gonna make that big of a difference.
Right.
And I know it can be when you get off on that. Like Kevin and Mr. Bill have talked about, they knew this going into it. So I don't know if it's 94 lots is their break-even point. So I think this same one's gonna catch us 1 or 2 down the list as well. So we can either continue this discussion, or we can hit some of the other ones and see if we keep coming back to the same issue.
In the effort of fairness, let's come back to this one. But Jim, I think you might be right. But let's come back to this one, and let's do number 2. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. And they state that the site has significant waters of the state, which they tried to avoid impacting. An increase in lot size would necessitate a greater encroachment on sensitive areas. All right, what do y'all have to say about that?
In theory, I agree with them. I would probably go with them on that one. But at the same time, if you look at the end of Mill Creek or whatever, the one that keeps going straight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, he's gonna lose basically 1 lot on that side and keep it at the same spot that it is.
Kevin?
So, I agree that there's some hardship, but we can go back to the other one. But I agree that there's water issues there.
Yeah, so that was related to my question of keeping the same footprint, but just a few less houses, and then you're not bothered by anything. It sounds like the 94 houses was like a design requirement, or that was a goal. It might, you could settle for, 85 to 90 and meet the requirement. So I'm struggling with this one too.
You're struggling with number 2 also?
Yes.
Jim, you are too? You're not.
No, my interpretation is yes, there is some extraordinary conditions to that land.
Right.
Because he can't go 55 feet because that would put him in the creek. So if he
That's
goes
right.
53, he would be out of the creek. But if he goes 55 feet, like Kevin said, take out 1 lot, then he'll be at the same place that he is, short of the creek.
That's right.
In theory. So to me, technically, yes, there is pertaining to that particular property, yes, there's a lot of water features.
All right, Bill, what do you have to say about this?
Oh, I'm still on. You had another on the screen a few minutes ago that was in color, but it showed the topo lines, and no, that's it. Right, go back. There you go. I mean, you could definitely see a little bit more difficult or challenging topographical features on this tract. I don't know that I'd call it extraordinary, but for the sake of argument, I will sign on number 2 that there are some conditions that are trouble, that are more difficult to deal with.
All right. Well, Kevin, we have you as a no, and Bill and Jim as a yes. And I think that I would have to agree. There are some exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. So we'll mark that as a yes. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. What do y'all think about that?
I didn't really have an issue with it.
Well, all right, maybe I'm not reading this correctly, but it looks like those same lines, extend down to St. Julian Place. Am I looking at this wrong? I'm not very good at topography.
No, I think you're correct. Though some of the topographical lines are more difficult to deal with, do dip down into the existing structure,
Right,
triangular shape that's already been developed.
that's right. What do, Jim and Kevin, what do y'all think about that, number 3?
Yeah, with that going in, so yeah, it does kind of coordinate with that, but as you can see, they worked around and avoided that thing. You just have a couple of spots there added. So I say, yeah, I mean,
I'm okay with it.
I'm going to agree because, that's a lot of that land that they're developing does have, it's not completely like all the others. It's not like Walnut Grove. They do have some, but nothing like what they have.
All right, Kevin?
I'm okay with it.
All right, so Bill, are you okay with that one?
Yes.
All right, number 4. Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Now, those conditions are the topography, correct? Am I correct on that?
So this is kind of where we get back to like number 1, in my opinion. They're trying to shorten it so they can get that extra lot, in my opinion, that extra 4 or 5 lots. Once again, if we deny them, they can still go build it, but they got to follow the 55 foot and the 6 foot one. So, I mean, this is where we keep coming back to this. There's some environmental areas. Yes, I think we all agree with that. I think Mr. Wright's kind of agreeing with it, with all the water structures and the ponds back there. But I think what they're asking for to us is to shorten it so they can get those couple extra lots in there.
Kevin?
So we can, we can end it here or.
Right. All right, Kevin?
I don't think it would prohibit or unreasonably restrict it. So I'm a no on this one.
And Jim, you're a no.
Yes, ma'am.
Bill?
We're on number 4.
Yes.
Let me read it again.
It's the conditions, it's not
I
only topography, but it's the water issues.
I would say that it doesn't meet number 4. Unreasonably restricting the utilization of the property. No.
Now, something else?
No, that's it.
I have to agree with the rest of the board on this. I don't think that not granting the variance would effectively prohibit or unnecessarily restrict the utilization of the property. So if we find in the negative on any one of these, the waiver can't be granted.
Did you want to go through the rest of them?
Well, if we find the negative on any of them, on one of them, then it's moot. So I don't think we need to go through the rest of them, ma'am, but I would ask an opinion of Libby.
As an action of the BZA, if you can't find one of them in the affirmative, then you should not pass the variance.
Right.
Now you have the I guess you have the option of asking them to come back with more information, or you have the tabling it and coming back with more information, or outright denial. Those have different long-term effects.
All right, what is the pleasure of the board?
Libby, one question though. So if we turn them down tonight, they can still, for your approval and the planning commission's approval, go build the 55-foot lots regardless.
Yes.
Do you want to ask them to come up with another plan? We can table it, or we could just outright deny it. What do you want to do? Anybody?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't know what they can propose different.
I don't either, but I'm just putting it out there.
I'm the same. I feel the same way. I mean, I think just deny it is what you ought to do.
I mean, they can come back in a year for this, or they can just go back to the original plan, the zoning that they called for.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they can go build it and comply, right?
What bothers me about the whole thing is that they went into this knowing they were under that guidelines of 1976, and now trying to, get around that. If that, I don't know if that's the best choice of words, but I think the unnecessary hardship is I don't think we meet the criteria for that one either, because this was a hardship that they knew about. Does that make sense? That they knew this was going to be, they knew what the requirements were, so I don't think it's an unnecessary hardship.
It looks like you're going to deny it. We did not know about this when we designed this. So what you're saying, it's false.
Excuse me, Mr. Green, I really don't know, Libby. Can I let him talk now or not?
That's at the chair's discretion. I believe that was Mr. Gillum.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
It's okay.
said it was
It's hard
Mr.
to hear.
It is very hard to hear. All right, Mr. Gillum, I will let you speak.
Yes, thank you. I just we did not know have 53 foot. That's just wrong. We thought we could do 53 foot wide lots. So we just didn't know that. We didn't go into it knowing anything. That's what we thought. So if we were wrong, we were wrong, but we didn't do it knowingly. And we believe that it was applied incorrectly, but I guess, you guys have control of it. You can do whatever you want to do. We understand that. Y'all have a problem. But it's not, I just, it's me to say we knew about something, but that is not true.
All right, I understand. Libby,
I understand that now.
Libby, when this was submitted to y'all, or the initial going up, there was no note made to them or requirement showing what he had to be built. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but there was no understanding that he had to be 55 foot.
We believe we covered that during the concept plan review.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, you want me to call for a motion, or you want to discuss it some more?
Kathy, let me ask one question that I don't know the answer to, and that is when he explained about the environmental issue. Is the fact that these lots at what I'd call the cul-de-sac end, they might be pressing the stream, or is the stream, is that an issue or not? In other words, if you were pulling back the cul-de-sac, if you lost a lot of So in there, is the environmental issue better, or is that just sort of a mood issue? I guess, Mr. Gillum.
So that would be something staff believes that the engineer would need to answer. That's something that's a technical question.
Okay.
Bill, could you repeat that question, please?
Well, I'm confused myself. I know what I'm trying to say, but, Kathy, what I was saying was, when he was explaining to me an answer to my question about the environmental issue,
Oh, there you are.
he said something about it was encroaching or made it more difficult to deal with the lots because it was close to a stream. And, so I assumed from that they, well, I'm not sure they would change that location juxtaposition to the stream. I think they're just adding more lots. So I'm not really sure it my answers anything or poses any kind of a alternatives. So I'll let that question go.
Okay.
Kevin, do you want to comment on that, or Jim?
No, I don't.
No, I'm good.
All right, well, I think this ends it. I'll call for a motion. Kevin?
Okay, I'm going to make the motion centered around item number 4, if I'm doing this right. Based on the conclusion on the findings previously discussed and voted on, the authorization of a variance would not prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. I move that application number ZV20-009, Walnut Grove, Section 13, a request by Keystone Homes for a variance pursuant to R3 zoning designation defined in the 1976 ZDSO be denied.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made that we deny this variance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion was carried to deny this variance. Thank you for your time, Mr. Green and Mr. Gillum, and Mr. Wright. I appreciate it, and I wish you luck with your project. All right. Now, our second item tonight is ZB21-001 UHC Sweetwater, and I think that's Universal Health Systems. A request by, is that correct? Universal Health Systems?
Yes. And can I just say right quick, Kathy, that anybody that was here for the previous case, you feel free to leave. You don't have to sit through the rest of this.
Yes. Or if you want to join the fun, you certainly can. A request by UHS Inc. for a front setback greater than the maximum permitted in the GC, General Commercial Zoning District by North Augusta Development Code, Article 3, Zoning District, Table 3-3, Dimensional Standards. The request affects the proposed hospital and freestanding emergency department on plus or minus 4.455 acres located on Austin Grable Road and Town Center Drive, tax parcel number 010-18-10-003. All right. Is there anybody, Libby, would you like to comment on this?
Sure. I just very briefly, it seems to be a fairly straightforward request, setback variance for dimensional standards. They've gone through all the items. If y'all have any particular questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I believe we have several representatives with us from the architecture studio, as well as from the hospital system.
All right, if you would like to speak, please, decide who's gonna go first, since at this point, I can't see any of you. And, so who would like to go first? Please state your name.
Yes, my name's Ty Cole. I'm the architect representing the project for UHS.
All right, would you please, give us your, address, for your architectural firm?
Sure. It's 2625 5th Avenue North, Building C, Bessemer, Alabama.
Oh, okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right. And I'm sorry, I couldn't understand your name. Would you say it again?
Sure. It's Ty, T-Y, Cole.
Ty, that's right. I remember that now. All right, what would you like to say to this?
Sure. You guys have the site plan drawing. It's really where it kind of tells the whole story why we're here. Also, one part of the intro, there was one thing that was not officially correct. It's not a hospital with a freestanding emergency department. It's only the freestanding emergency department will be on this site. It is connected to the Aikens Regional Medical Center. So it's just a part of that hospital system, but it won't be a hospital here. It'll just be the freestanding emergency department.
All right, well, I think we've misunderstood that. So it's just a freestanding, full service, so to speak, emergency department, or is it more like a prompt care?
No, it's a full service freestanding emergency department. So it's the extension of Aiken Regional's ER department.
All right, but not a hospital itself.
Correct, not a hospital that will ever be attached or anything to that.
All right. So, what else do you have to say, Mr. Cole?
So the part of the variance that we're looking at is the 80-foot maximum building setback. The reason that we can't get our building into that's what I'd like to speak about tonight for the variance. Okay. In fact, the closer we could get the building to the street would be what we would want to do. But based on the South Carolina DOT requirements, Austin Graybill Road is not allowed to have a direct access to those sites along the road for this development. So what was proposed with the development with South Carolina DOT was to have the secondary roads that go into the property. As you'll see on the plan there, Town Center Drive is the first intersection into this property along Austin Graybill Road. That's what we have to use as an entrance point to get to our site, not directly off of Graybill. Once you turn off of Austin Graybill Road, you have a minimum of 75 feet before you're allowed to turn into your property for safety reasons, for DOT standards and how cars brake and turn into a spot and not have a backup back to the intersection. So once you come off the intersection 75 feet, you'll see that's what we've drawn. We've drawn our 75 feet, brought the entrance in. When you come into this facility, the freestanding emergency department, first thing that you have is a entrance with a drop off for the patient with a canopy, which is what that little offset is towards the building, the darker gray part of the asphalt. That's required by code that you do that. I'm sorry, that's the ambulance right there to the right. Yeah, right there. Thank you. So as soon as we drive in, we have a straight shot. We're 24 feet wide for the fire lane access. We have to have a drop-off point for the patient under the canopy by code, and then that's where our building's located. So we've pushed the building as far as we can to meet the requirements of coming off of Austin Graybill Road, and with our 24-foot fire access as well as patient drop-off. And the building is on a bit of an angle. So we have 113 feet at one corner and 112 feet at the other corner. So we took the worst case of 113 feet total. So that would give us a 33-foot setback request from the 80-foot maximum building setback. That's why we're here tonight.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Mr. Cole?
I do not.
No, ma'am.
Bill?
No question.
All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of this particular variance?
This is Michael Hall, the Chief Operating Officer of the Regional Medical Center. Just wanted to clarify.
All right, just a moment, Mr. Hall, I have to swear you in. Please state your name and address.
Michael Hall, address is 302 University Parkway, Aiken, South Carolina, 29801. That is my
All right,
address.
would you please raise your right hand?
It is raised.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Now, you're the Chief Operating Officer, all right?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, and again, I don't know that when the documents were up here, when it did show the application, I believe it said University Health Services, and UHS stands for Universal Health Services. I don't know if it matters or not, just wanted
That might have been my mistake, I don't know, but anyway, it's universal, we'll be sure that's changed.
just want to make sure we didn't run afoul of anything. That is
Right.
all I had to add.
Oh, all right.
And then we look forward to working with North Augusta and offering this service there.
Well, it sure sounds like we're going to be enriched by having you there, that's for sure. All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hall?
No.
All right.
No.
Does anybody else want to speak on behalf of, or just speak on behalf of this variance? Would anybody else like to speak? You don't have to be from the hospital itself. All right.
All
Then
right,
if no
Kathy,
one-
I would like to mention that we have not had any public comment received on this one.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think that if nobody's speaking up, I will say then that the public hearing is closed.
All right, I have a question for Libby real quick, if you don't mind. Will this affect not just us proving this, but the lots next to it? Will we be here again to get the variance because of DOT on Austin Grable Road?
I know at least 2 other plans that have come through already that have not had to come in for setback variances specifically.
Yeah. But if in most cases, it could. I don't know. I forget what the layout there. Isn't there like 5 or 6 lots down to
Yes.
that?
I mean, there's always the possibility. Some of it is design, some of it is what it's used for.
Yep.
So there's lots of factors that may go into whether or not something else will come in.
Okay. Thank you.
But nobody else will be allowed to have access to Austin Grable either. So.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. As we said earlier, we have to meet all of the requirements here, all of them in the positive before we can pass this variance. So we'll discuss them as we go through them. An unnecessary hardship exists. I'm going to read them all. An unnecessary hardship exists. They're extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The authorization of a variance will give substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale, the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late night activity. And number 6 is sign ordinance, and that's not applicable with this variance. The Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. If the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. The fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. And number 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. All right, we'll go back to number 1 now. And for those of you in the audience, people from the Universal Health Systems, and anybody else that might be tuning in here, we have to find in the positive all 10 of these. Well, it's really all 9 because number 6 doesn't apply about the sign. If one of them is found to be in the negative, we can't grant the variance. All right, number 1, an unnecessary hardship exists.
Ooh, they can't. That it does, they can't use it otherwise.
Well, I think the unnecessary in my opinion, the unnecessary hardship here, there is one, and it's predicated by DOT's requirements.
Right.
Are we okay on number 1?
I'm okay.
Jim? Okay. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. What do y'all say about that?
Yes, I agree with it. DOT once again.
Well, I
agree.
think it's DOT standards, and I understand those. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. But now he says here, the applicant states where adjacent property owners can access their site directly from Austin Grable Road. These criteria do not apply to them. The SCDOT safety guidelines dictate access to this site being from a secondary road. But I thought you just said, Libby, that nobody would be able to access directly from Austin Grable.
Well, that is my understanding. But they may be referencing more generally other properties along Austin Grable.
Like the subdivisions or things like
that. Not this one in particular.
Okay. And you know that the Town Center Drive, is Town Center not labeled yet?
It's not on there yet. It's just was developed.
I rode all through there yesterday, and I never found Town Center Drive. I think I was driving on it, but
I think right now it might be just a dirt track.
Well, I think that is the conclusion I came to. I think I was at Marketplace and then on down, but which had no name on it. Yeah. Okay. So the conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. The neighborhoods can be accessed by directly, and NHC can be directly accessed, but evidently South Carolina DOT won't let them directly access it. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is my understanding.
Yes.
So it would be a yes on that one also.
I'm good.
Correct.
Are you good on that one, Kevin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And
I agree that it does, with all the setbacks and the right of ways and fire marshal requirements. Yeah.
And the necessity for a canopy that's required. I think we can say a yes. I can say a yes on that one. Bill?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes. I'm good.
All right. Number 5, The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good. The character of the district won't be harmed, etc. Are y'all okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Number 6 is not applicable. And number 7, they're not trying to, hospitals are permitted in this zoning district. The variance does not extend to physically non-conforming use of land, and the applicant does not propose a change in zoning. So that's a yes.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, number 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. I don't think this is self-imposed. Personally, I don't think so.
That is correct.
I agree.
Bill, are you okay?
I agree with that, yeah.
Maybe you already said you were. It's hard for me to tell who's talking. The fact that the property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted should not be considered grounds for a variance. Well, I think anytime anybody builds something, they're trying to, do it to their best advantage. But I don't think that's the main source of trying to grant this, of applying for this variance.
There's only certain ways that thing will fit in that space, right?
That is correct.
Evidently, that's what Mr. Cole was implying.
And whoever else comes in there are going to have to meet the same DOT specifications.
They are. They certainly are. Bill?
I'm okay with that.
I'm good.
All right. Granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions. So now the staff recommends that the property will be developed in general conformance with the layout provided. Minor changes to the layout may be allowed as determined by the Planning and Development Director. In no case will a less conforming layout be allowed. And then the curb cuts obviously must be approved by DOT. Do you have any other conditions?
No, ma'am. I'm good with those.
I'm good.
I'm okay with no other conditions.
Kevin?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I think we found in the affirmative for all of these. And Kevin, when they make the motion, we need to put those following the conditions that the planning director has put in. And does anyone have any other conditions?
No, ma'am.
I have one. This is for Mr. Hall, that when we go to the emergency room, I don't want to wait 6 hours over there, okay? Can you see to that, Mr. Hall? All right, so Kevin, would you make the motion, please?
Okay, based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application ZV21-001 UHS Sweetwater, a request by Universal Health Services Incorporated for a variance pursuant to Article 3, Section 3.8.5.3, Table 3-3, Dimensional Standards of the I lost my place. Of the North Augusta Development Code for variance to item J, maximum front setback, be granted with the following agreements, conditions, stipulations, and directives. And there are 2. The property will be developed in general conformance with the layout provided. Minor changes to the layout may be allowed as determined by the Planning and Development Director. In no case will a less conforming layout be allowed. Number 2, curb cuts onto Austin Grable Road must be approved by SCDOT.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Do we have a second to that?
I'd second it.
All right, is that Bill?
Yes, Bill.
Thank you. All right, the motion's been made and seconded that we grant this variance. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, hearing none, the variance is granted. All
you very
right,
much.
thank you, Mr. Hall and Mr. O for coming and speaking, and good luck with your development.
Thank you so much, and we'll make sure to keep those wait times down for you.
Thank
great
you.
night.
All right, anybody that, this is the end of the, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting unless someone else has something to say. Libby, do you?
I do have one thing to add. Mea culpa, I completely forgot that I did have another comment to add from Mr. Buckaloo, also off of Millstone. Some of his comments were very similar to what we heard, and the outcome is what the outcome is, but I apologize sincerely for doing that. And they will be included in the minutes.
In the minutes, okay. All right, does anybody else have any?
So now,
All right, Libby, this is just, for my information. What else is going out there? All that land has been graded. What else is going out there? Is anything permanent?
I'm not
Official yet?
sure yet. I'm not sure yet. We have seen the application for the mini storage up on the northern end. And we have seen a hotel, I think, on the lot right above this one. But the rest of it, we have not seen any development plans in particular yet.
All right. All right, does anybody else have anything good for the group?
No.
no, ma'am.
All right, well, before we sign off, I know that we all wish Wes well, and we missed him tonight, most of all me. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a great night.
Good night.
You too.